Thanks for joining me on this journey of joy, grief, and authenticity. I am Hilarie Houghton, and today I am finishing the story of the life of my sweet, sweet baby girl, Hollis. And you've heard me talk a little bit about her birth and her diagnosis of non-ketotic hyperglycemia. NKH is what it's often referred to. And today I'm going to talk about her death and our last 2 days with her. We had so many people praying for us, and I still cherish those prayers. I feel like I've read through every single comment somebody has made or prayer that they have mentioned. We had a lot of friends texting scripture, and that was so helpful. They were praying for miracles too. They were having prayer sessions and everything just for our baby girl, and that meant the world to us. The last day or two, we had a lot of family come through and meet Hollis, and one of my favorite memories was my sister-in-law Lauren coming in and looking at her feet, which were really long, skinny feet, just like her father, and apparently just like her Aunt Lauren. And as soon as Lauren met her, she said, "She has my feet." And that was one of my favorite memories. I love that so many people did get to meet her because she wasn't alive very long, and so it meant a lot. All the family that traveled in from all over the place to see her, and I still think about that and I cherish that. We had originally scheduled to have newborn photos done by our friend Christina Childress, and she is excellent at doing family photos. And when everything happened, she's also a good friend, and so she reached out, and my friend Casey helped coordinate everything, and she came up to the hospital and took some photos of us, and I was amazed at her ability to capture moments that didn't look like they were lit with a sterile environment and fluorescent lighting and tubes all over Hollis. Somehow she captured the love in those moments, and it is so beautiful. I cherish those photos. Throughout this entire process, Jamin and I had amazingly been on the same page throughout everything, and I believe that was God. And it was really amazing to see us make decisions together with absolutely no hesitation, and we just could. It was like we were reading each other's mind, and we would finish each other's sentences, and we are not the same person by any means. We are very different, but we knew how we were going to come together, and it was really important that we were on the same page. It made it so much easier whenever it came down to the decision of keeping Hollis on life support and at what point we would take her off life support. We informed the family that they would have a couple hours to come visit her one last time, and then we would be taking her off of life support. It was the most exhausting because it was the saddest moments in our life happening over and over again as everyone said goodbye to her. After that, we had the opportunity to be alone with her and bathe her and make footprints and handprints and all those things that parents do. And we got to pray over her, and at 9 p.m. they took us into another room where we were going to spend the evening, and it looked an awful lot like a nursery, and we took her off life support there. And it was at this point Jamin and I were so tired, and we were fighting to stay awake, and it was only 9 p.m. but we hadn't been sleeping for days, and we were tormented by trying to stay awake, and we didn't want to miss that moment. They invited us to return back to the room we'd been in with her bed and with a sofa and more comfortable seating for us. And so we did. We went back in there and we cuddled, and it was so sweet. We got to sleep on the sofa together, which was moments that I really, really cherish. And early in the morning, this is Sunday morning now. My parents and my mother-in-law, we invited them to come back inside and to hold her again, because she was still holding strong and we were so proud, and we didn't want them to lose those moments and that opportunity again. And during that time, her vitals began to drop while people were holding her, and her vitals had gotten really low, and it happened really fast, and they put her back on my chest and they just skyrocketed back up, and she was doing amazing. It just felt like I was able to fix something. For a moment I thought she was just gonna live. It was gonna be okay. And at one point Jamin said, I think you're gonna have to let her go and tell her that she can go. And I knew he was right. I told her that she could go and that we love her, and that wasn't the hardest part. And her death wasn't the hardest part when she left. The hardest part was handing her off to the nurse. We had the best nurses, Bradley and Leah. They were amazing. And at the same time, I couldn't bear to hand her off to anybody. I felt like I needed to be the one to take her wherever the next stop was. I needed to be the one to take her there. And even especially because I knew that they were going to be sitting her down somewhere and I could be holding her instead. I didn't know how to articulate that, and I didn't know if it was socially acceptable. And I wish I would have asked more questions and pushed a little harder for that. I know now after reading that that's really common, that you could stay with your loved one for a really long time, and I just didn't know that. Her coloring had been fading, and I was afraid to see her color continue to fade, and I didn't want to remember her that way. When we got home that evening, our neighbor Tony was in the yard, and I don't think he said anything, but I looked at him and said, "No, baby." Those were the only words I could manage. Tony's wife, Maureen, heard the news and came over within the hour and stood at the door just crying. She had a huge bouquet of flowers that she somehow got on a Sunday evening immediately, and it was beautiful, and I still remember that moment, and it's so comforting to know that she wasn't going to let another minute go by without telling us how sorry she was. And we've had that kind of support nonstop. We've had support from our church, Trinity Parish. We've had the best people in our lives. Our family has been amazing. Everyone has been so supportive. All of my coworkers have been amazing. We are so grateful for those 6 days that we had with Hollis. They were short, but so sweet.